Eager to acquire all the possible information that this world could give her, Beta will take many things from Mother Japan. Technology, computers, tablets, camera, pens, anything that could give you a little knowledge. But without a doubt, what caught her attention the most and what she really wanted was a living specimen of this world. And so, Beta kidnaps Akane and takes her to another world, to the world of Shadow, where the Shadow's garden predominated. Or in other words, they kidnapped her. So, my friend, if you are interested in knowing this history, please accompany me. This is all Mikhail, and he brings you to continuation of the story where the anime let off. So, get comfortable, grab a soda, because we will begin this narrative. Let's position ourselves from the moment in which our beloved Sid or Minoru for this chronologic moment is shot by hitmen in this world because he knew too much about the suspicious death of one of the Calabarin's commanders of this university. He knew that a big event was about to happen and obviously he was going to participate. A wave or herd of magical beasts were visiting this forest where they were and in their heart. He wanted to appear as the emissaries among the shadows to defeat these monsters, see a few epic lines, and then disappear into the depths of the night. He dressed as the eminence among of the shadow with his shadow slime outfits and then he left off their battlefield. At the same time, Beta was still pretending to be a girl who couldn't communicate with others. But she had wasted no time. She had learned everything she could in this little instant within their knowing facilitates. In the same way that she believed that Shadow learned the language from her, she began to analyze each and every word that others says. She learned her language almost perfectly. Well, her accent still felt it on several occasions, but for just being inconfident for 3 days. Without a doubt, it was a great benefit that she could understand this language perfectly, but she still did not show it to others. The monster surge towards this human fortress was too great. Even the humans began to retreat due to the great war power of their opponent. Their enemies were powerful, so much so that they were standing to lose. Then, the director of this university went to Beta's room to try to execute his plan. He needed a girl who had gone through awakening with great magical abilities to inject her with an experimental substance and thus awaken or angel or warrior or a knight so powerful that he couldn't save the world. More powerful than the first knight or the first wizard ever born into this world. From the point of view from the director, he believed that Beta was just a girl who didn't even understand the laws and she didn't know what she was about to go through. The perfect guinea pig. But before he took the strange to introduce that foreign component into her body, suddenly a familiar figure approached from the door and shot Beta in the head with a gun, killing her on the spot. Or at least that's who it seems. The director turned around very surprised, addressed of the person who shot, and this was none other than the trustworthy doctor, who was in charge of treating all the patients. She then points her guns at his chest of the director and hits him 3 times. The dying man falls to the ground while he wonders in his mind, why are you doing this? He then puts all the pieces together in her mind when she tells him her real name and tells him that she was a survivor of Arcadia, the wife of a college he had in the previously laboratory where the experiment they were carrying out when were warned. That experiment was responsible for the murder of everyone inside that Arcadia fortress, and he feels survivors wanted revenge. So, this nurse became the wife of one of these colleagues who died at that time. Opportunely retaliate and the best she could do was snatch her dreams in front of him from their eyes. The nurse wanted her to suffer as much as possible. That's why she didn't give her the shot grace. She simply put away her gun and left to complete her task. Well, let's speed it up. A little more things. After this scientist fell to the ground dejected, thinking that he was about to die, suddenly Beta gets up from the ground and started saying some words that he was not able to understand because she was speaking in her original language. Then, with full surprised eyes, Beta realized that she is begun watch it and begins to use the language of these words a little clumsy, but already mastered, telling him to go. She apologized for lying to you, but the truth is I was always able to communicate it with all of you. Her, this man a question, who are you? What the hell do you want? And Beta responds like a veiled 70 shadows. Us? We are fools who hunt in the dark. We are fools who hide in the shadows. We are Shadow Garden. And after delivering that epic presentation, he left, not before feeling in a slime bag. All the important things that she had seen in this world are the ones that kills in her most curiosity. As I said at the beginning of the video, phones, tablets, computers, cameras, pens, or anything that had sometimes of useful information that they could replicate it. He stored all of that in the bag on her back. She seemed a thief or Santa Claus. She then left. The scientist, before dying, saw that between among these objects was also the camera that he had lost a few days ago. He said, "Whoa, like that's where I was." And then he passed away. While those events were happening, the Holy Knights were fighting the legion of monsters they used that they couldn't defend themselves. But they emerged overwhelmed then in size, in number and in power, so they couldn't do anything but retract it. And finally, when Akane realized that she was surrounded by the bunch of thirsty vest of blood and she was about to die, suddenly Shadow appeared from the sky, defeating all the monsters that were within reach in an instant. The time it took her to do this was a million seconds. This was the second time he appeared before the nights and rumor had formed, but now there were confirmed. A man capable of magical creatures and defeating them with such ease. He was among humans, but they didn't know exactly that he desired was nor what his intentions were. Was he on his side? Was he an enemy? Or perhaps he was a monster disguised as a human? With that power that possible exists. Back to the topic, suddenly the search intensified even more. Many monsters of great category and power began to attack them even more, and this is when Sid decides to use the most brash attack has at his disposal in the I Am Atomic, which the focus in one direction. He points his sword and says the legendary words. Then, as the purple flash cuts through the night, turning into the day, and so the horde of monsters, all the buildings you found behind them, and even the mountain that should be in this place, they disappeared. As always, the people around her would be impressive, and the shadow would say one word or another to make himself look angry, and then disappear. Instead of the main person responsibility for this event, but well, it turns out that was not one responsibility, but Shadow, his in schizophrenia thought that he had. Therefore, he went to the highest part of the city using his keen magical sense. He identified the movement of an object with large amount of magical in his body and said, "Whoa, I don't know who are you, but you are probably responsible of this whole siege, so I'm going to capture you." And he left in the direction, just to seem calm. But what he didn't know is that, actually, the person who was in the direction was moving through in the underground tunnels. Escaping from this place, he was the traitors, just as you are hearing it. And like Cherry in the past, she was carrying Akane in the sack. Her plan was to kidnap her and then hand her over to her alliance, and then executed her as revenge for that he had done in Arcadia. However, before her plans came to a conclusion, suddenly he met the student Minoru, the boy who apparently had a lot of trouble remembering. She told him that, "Boy, I don't know exactly how you managed to survive, but you are a fool to try to block my way." And in this, he pointed his gun and shot, thinking he was going to die. And even though he impints the magazines of him, believing that the part has no claim, Kage suddenly doesn't get up and say, "Whoa, without a doubt, I see that you are not very kind. Let us say it." And well, among these another Akane wakes up, and then she begins to remember all the past and the time in which she spent begin her brother's test specimen to awaken and become the knight, the world's fierce wizard, as she at first lost control and destroyed all of Arcadia. As she remembered, there's even her hair changed color, she turned a golden tone, and she murdered the doctor who has kidnapped her. She couldn't control herself, and didn't this unconsciously. She was out of control. She begins to destroy and attacks everything around her. Luckily for her, there was nothing else around her to destroy because they were in a basement. Although they had formed a crater because of the explosion for magic that it was causing, but they who were to try to stop it, she was none other than Shadow Hoops. She took a few hits, blocked that made it sure to avoid the fatal attacks, and after having received a blast of solar energy shot from their tips on her fingers, he approaches in front of her and with her hand touches one of her teeth to introduce purple magic power inside her. This calmed her down. In the same way, he cursed the possessions of the other gears in her world. After doing that, she began to calm down, and then she falls asleep. Immediately, having defeated her, Veta appears on her back and said, "My lord, we have finished complete the preparations to return on world." Kage says, "Really? Well, fantastic. As expected, you were already taking a lot of your time. Alright, Veta, let's go." And so, she takes a strange substance that they were already going to introduce into her arm, the same one that apparently it was the product of murdered head when the black rocks exploded. She used this substance to open hole that connect her again with her world, Shadow, and she will jump not before Veta looked at Akane's body, and with a malicious smile he said, "I think I have a good idea." She took Akane and threw her into the bag, and then they jumped into the hole. She had kidnapped her from Mother Japan. Gentlemen, and nothing more, gentlemen. That is the end of the story of Volume 4. If you liked it, share it and subscribe. And it's probably in the end of the movie too. So, nothing if this. I'll see you later, my friend. Bye.